I found my wife's burner phone taped under our bathroom sink while fixing a leak on our 15th wedding anniversary. The irony wasn't lost on me. There I was, on my knees in our master bathroom, reaching for the shutoff valve, when my fingers brushed against something that shouldn't have been there. A small plastic bag, carefully secured with waterproof tape to the underside of the cabinet. Inside was a cheap prepaid cell phone, the kind you buy at gas stations with cash. My hands were shaking as I powered it on. The battery was nearly full. She'd been charging it recently. No lock screen. Why would there be? Nobody was supposed to find it. The text messages loaded, and my 15-year marriage shattered in the time it took to read 3 lines. Can't wait to see you Thursday. Tell Kevin you're at book club again. Last night was incredible. I've never felt this alive. I think I'm falling in love with you. The messages went back 8 months. 8 months of Thursdays. 8 months of book club. 8 months while I'd been working 60-hour weeks at the firm, trying to make partner, trying to provide the life Amanda said she wanted. The other person's name in the phone was just Jay. No profile picture, no identifying information. But the messages told me everything I needed to know. They'd met at her gym. They'd been careful at first, then bolder. Hotel rooms became afternoon visits to Jay's apartment. My stomach turned as I scrolled through the casual intimacy, the inside jokes, the planning. Thursday was tomorrow. I sat on that bathroom floor for what felt like hours but was probably only 20 minutes. The leak still dripped behind me, a steady rhythm that matched my pulse. Our anniversary dinner reservation was in 3 hours. Amanda was downstairs right now, probably getting ready, maybe texting Jay on this very phone before I'd found it. The smart move would have been to photograph everything, put the phone back, hire a private investigator. That's what my lawyer brain told me. But my hands were already moving, snapping photos of every message, every call log entry, every piece of evidence. The phone had hundreds of messages, and I documented them all. I heard footsteps on the stairs. Amanda's voice floated up. Kevin? How's the leak coming? We need to leave in an hour if we want to make our reservation. Kevin. My name sounded foreign in her mouth now. How many times had she said it while thinking of someone else? Almost done, I called back, surprised at how normal my voice sounded. I powered off the phone, slipped it back into the plastic bag, and taped it exactly where I'd found it. My hands moved on autopilot, muscle memory from years of careful, methodical work. The leak could wait. I washed my hands, splashed water on my face, and looked at myself in the mirror. Same face I'd had this morning. Same receding hairline I'd been self-conscious about. Same tired eyes from too many late nights reviewing contracts. But everything else had changed. 42 years old, and I was looking at a stranger. Amanda was in our bedroom when I came out, wearing the black dress I'd always loved. She'd had her hair done, her makeup perfect. She looked beautiful. She looked like my wife. You okay? She asked, studying my face. You look pale. Just tired, I said. Long week. She crossed the room and kissed my cheek. I didn't pull away, but I didn't lean into it either. If she noticed, she didn't say anything. Well, perk up. It's our anniversary. 15 years with my favorite person. She smiled, and I wondered if she'd practiced that smile. If it was the same one she gave Jay. 15 years, I echoed. I got you something special, she said, pulling a small wrapped box from her dresser. Open it now, before dinner. I took the box, feeling its weight. Part of me wanted to throw it across the room. Part of me wanted to confront her right there, show her the photos on my phone, watch her face as her carefully constructed lie fell apart. Instead, I unwrapped it carefully. Inside was a watch, expensive, elegant, engraved on the back. To Kevin, my partner in everything. Love always, Amanda. My partner in everything. The laugh that escaped me sounded bitter even to my own ears. You don't like it? Her face fell, and for a moment she looked genuinely hurt. No, it's perfect, I said, because what else could I say? Thanks for the watch, by the way. I found your burner phone and know you've been sleeping with someone named Jay for 8 months? You sure? You seem off. Just thinking about the leak. I should probably call a plumber tomorrow. On our anniversary weekend? She wrapped her arms around my waist. No work talk, no house talk. Just us, okay? Like old times. Old times. When had those been? Before the affair? Before the gym membership she'd insisted on getting last year? Before the book club that met every Thursday at 7? Just us, I agreed. She kissed me then, and I kissed her back, tasting the lie on both our lips. Tomorrow was Thursday. Tomorrow she'd go to Jay. Tomorrow she'd come home and kiss me again with that same mouth. But tonight, I'd sit across from her at our favorite restaurant. I'd eat expensive food that would taste like ash. I'd toast to 15 years of marriage. And I'd plan my next move with the same careful precision I brought to every case at the firm. Because Amanda had made one critical mistake. She'd underestimated me. She'd assumed the devoted husband would stay devoted, would stay blind, would keep working those 60-hour weeks while she lived her double life. She was wrong. The Miami heat hit me the moment I stepped outside the restaurant. Amanda was still in the restroom, probably checking her makeup, making sure everything looked perfect. I stood on the sidewalk and opened the Uber app on my phone. We'd shared an account for years. One of those married couple conveniences. Easier billing, I'd thought. My card on file. I handled the finances while she handled… what exactly? I scrolled through the ride history, my thumb moving with the same methodical precision I used reviewing contracts. The pattern emerged within 30 seconds. Thursdays. Every single Thursday for the past 8 months, like clockwork. I filtered the view to show only her rides, the ones requested from her phone. Pool rides mostly. Shared rides to save money, which would have been touching if the destination wasn't the same address over and over. 2847 Brickell Avenue, apartment 14C. I pulled up Google Maps. 12 minutes from our house. High-rise building, the kind with a doorman and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Biscayne Bay. Not the sort of place book clubs typically met. My finger hovered over one ride from 3 weeks ago. I tapped it. The ride details expanded, and there it was, the in-app chat function we barely used. Except Amanda had used it. Pick me up for us, she'd written to the driver. 2 passengers to 2847 Brickell. Us? I scrolled further. More messages, different drivers, same destination. We're both coming out now. 2 of us heading to Brickell. Can you wait? My friend is running late. Friend? The restaurant door opened behind me. I closed the app and slipped my phone into my pocket, my face arranging itself into something approximating normal. Amanda walked out, her hand finding mine automatically. You okay? She asked. You look pale. Just the heat, I said. Ready to head home? She squeezed my hand. Best anniversary yet. I called our own Uber. A regular ride, not a pool. I wasn't in the mood to share. The next morning, Saturday, I woke before dawn. Amanda slept beside me, her breathing steady and peaceful. The sleep of someone with a clear conscience, or maybe just good practice at compartmentalization. I took my phone into the home office and closed the door. The Uber account logged me in automatically. I spent the next 2 hours going through every single ride from the past 8 months, screenshotting everything. The destinations, the timestamps, the chat logs. I created a folder on my phone labeled Miami-Dade Property Tax Records. Boring enough that Amanda would never open it even if she saw it. 47 rides to 2847 Brickell Avenue. 47 Thursdays, give or take a few weeks when she'd claimed book club was canceled or she wasn't feeling well. Those weeks I noticed she'd taken rides to hotels instead. The Mandarin Oriental, the Four Seasons. Always pool rides. Always us in the messages. My lawyer brain kicked into gear. This wasn't just evidence of an affair. This was documentation of financial fraud. My credit card, my money, funding her betrayal. Every ride charged to our joint account, which meant charged to me. I opened my email and drafted a message to myself with all the screenshots attached. Then I forwarded it to my personal email, the one Amanda didn't have access to. Belt and suspenders. Always have backup. The office door opened. Amanda stood there in one of my old t-shirts, her hair messy from sleep. "You're up early," she said. "Couldn't sleep." I closed my phone. "Work stuff." She patted over and wrapped her arms around me from behind. "It's Saturday. No work today?" "Just reviewing something." I stood, extracting myself from her embrace. "I'm going to make coffee." In the kitchen, I filled the reservoir with water and measured out the grounds. My hands were steady. That surprised me. I'd expected shaking, maybe. Rage. Instead, I felt cold, calculating. The coffee brewed. Amanda appeared in the doorway watching me. "What's wrong?" she asked. "Nothing." "Kevin?" I said nothing. She crossed her arms. "You're being weird." "I'm tired." I poured coffee into 2 mugs, handed her one. "Long week?" She studied my face, and for a moment I wondered if she could see it. The knowledge sitting behind my eyes like a coiled snake. But then she shrugged and took a sip. "I'm meeting Diane for lunch today," she said. "That new place in Wynwood." Diane. Her book club alibi, probably. I wondered if Diane even existed, or if she was just another lie in the elaborate construction Amanda had built. "Sure," I said. "I've got errands anyway." "What errands?" The question came too fast, too sharp. I looked at her over the rim of my mug. "Just errands," I said. "Since when do I need to report my Saturday schedule?" Her expression smoothed. "You don't." I was just asking. But she wasn't just asking. She was checking, making sure I'd be safely occupied while she did whatever she actually planned to do today. Maybe Diane was real. Maybe Diane was covering for her, the way friends sometimes do. I finished my coffee and set the mug in the sink. "I'm going to shower." "Want company?" She smiled, the same smile that used to make my chest tight. Now it just made my stomach turn. "I'm good." In the shower, I let the water run cold. I needed to think clearly, needed the shock of it to keep my mind sharp. The evidence was solid, documented, irrefutable. But evidence was only useful if you knew what to do with it. Divorce was obvious. That would come. But I'd spent 15 years with this woman, 60-hour work weeks to build the life she enjoyed, and she'd spent 8 months of Thursdays in some other man's apartment, using my money to get there. The water beat down on my shoulders. An idea formed, ugly and perfect. Monday morning, I called Uber customer service from my office. The representative who answered sounded young, probably working from a call center somewhere with a script in front of her. I need to dispute some charges, I said. Fraudulent activity on my account. I'm so sorry to hear that, sir. Can you tell me which rides you're disputing? I pulled up my screenshots. All rides to 2847 Brickell Avenue over the past 8 months. 47 rides total. Someone's been using my account without authorization. There was typing on the other end. I see those rides here. They were requested from a device registered to Amanda Brennan? My wife, I said. Soon-to-be ex-wife. She's been using my payment information for rides to her boyfriend's apartment. I'd like those charges refunded. More typing. Sir, I understand this is a difficult situation, but typically in cases of shared accounts between spouses. The card is in my name, I interrupted. The account is in my name. I'm reporting unauthorized use of my payment information. That's fraud. A pause. Let me transfer you to our fraud department. The fraud department was more understanding. Or maybe they just had different scripts. Either way, 30 minutes later, I had confirmation that all 47 rides would be refunded to my credit card. They also offered to secure my account by requiring two-factor authentication for all future rides. Actually, I said, can you create a separate account for my wife? Transfer her device to a new account under her name? Absolutely, sir. We can set that up. Would she be using the same payment method? No, I said. She'll need to add her own card. Except Amanda didn't have her own card. Not really. She had a supplemental card on my account, which I could cancel whenever I wanted. Her checking account held maybe $300, enough for groceries and gas, the small expenses she handled. The representative walked me through the process. Within an hour, Amanda's phone would be logged out of our shared account and prompted to create her own. She'd need to add payment information, and when she tried to use my card, it would decline. But I wasn't done. I created a new email address, something generic, unmemorable. Then I downloaded a VPN app and spoofed my location. Using the new email and a prepaid debit card I'd picked up at CVS during my errands on Saturday, I created a fresh Uber account. Then I logged into Amanda's new account. The password reset was easy. I still had access to her email, another married couple convenience we'd never bothered to separate. Security question? Her mother's maiden name? I'd known that for 15 years. I started booking rides. Long rides. Rides from our house to the far reaches of Miami-Dade County. Junkyards in Hialeah. Scrapyards in Homestead. Abandoned lots in Opelika. I scheduled them for Thursday, her precious Thursday, every hour from noon until midnight. The prepaid card had $200 on it. I spent every cent. The notification chimed at 11:47 p.m. Thursday night. I'd been waiting for it. Uber ride canceled. $5 fee charged to account ending in 7392. Then another and another. 6 cancellation fees in rapid succession, each one a small victory. I pictured Amanda somewhere, maybe already at Jay's building, maybe still en route, frantically tapping her phone screen as ride after ride evaporated. The burner account I'd created had scheduled them all for pickup locations scattered across Miami-Dade County. Homestead, Kendall, Aventura. Each one timed to trigger just as the previous one canceled. My real phone sat dark on the nightstand. Amanda had texted 3 hours ago. Book club running late. Don't wait up. I'd responded with a thumbs up emoji. Simple, normal. The kind of response I'd been giving for 8 months of Thursdays. The cancellation notifications kept coming. 12 now. 15. I'd programmed the burner account to request rides every 7 minutes, until the prepaid card ran dry. Each cancellation would hit her account. The new account Uber had graciously separated for her after my fraud claim. The account that now required her own payment method. My lawyer brain had calculated it precisely. $200 divided by $5 cancellation fees. 40 phantom rides scattered across South Florida. 40 small charges that would stack up like evidence in a deposition. At 12:23 a.m., my phone finally rang. Amanda's name lit up the screen. I let it ring 4 times before answering. "Hey." "Kevin." Her voice carried an edge I'd never heard before. Not quite panic, but close. "Something's wrong with my Uber account. It keeps canceling rides and charging me." "That's weird." I kept my tone sleepy, confused. "Where are you?" A pause. Half a second too long. "Still at Rachel's. Book club went long and now I can't get a ride home." "Rachel. Not Diane." Interesting how the alibi shifted. "Can't you just request a new ride?" I asked. "I've tried. It keeps saying there's suspicious activity on my account. They've temporarily restricted it." Frustration bled through her careful composure. "Can you come get me?" I sat up in bed, making sure she could hear the rustle of sheets. "Where's Rachel live again?" Another pause. "Coral Gables, near the university." "Text me the address. I'll be there in 20. "Actually." Her voice shifted, became softer. More familiar. The voice she used when she wanted something. "Never mind. I'll figure it out. I know you're tired." "Amanda, it's almost 1 in the morning. Just send me the address." "I'll call a regular cab. Go back to sleep." She hung up before I could respond. I stared at the dark screen, my pulse steady. She couldn't give me an address because she wasn't at Rachel's house. She was somewhere near 2847 Brickell Avenue, trying to get home from her lover's apartment, and her carefully constructed Thursday routine had just collapsed around her. The cancellation notifications continued. 18, 20, 23. At 1:47 a.m., I heard the front door open. I'd positioned myself in bed exactly as she'd expect, on my side, facing away from her side of the mattress, breathing deep and even. The bedroom door creaked. Footsteps crossed to the bathroom. Water ran. The familiar sounds of her nighttime routine, but the timing was all wrong. She should have been home by 11 if book club was real. Should have been home by midnight at the latest. The mattress dipped as she slid under the covers. She smelled like hotel soap and desperation. "Kevin?" A whisper. "Testing." I didn't respond, kept my breathing steady. She settled in, but I could feel her tension. Could sense her lying awake in the darkness, probably checking her phone, trying to understand what had happened to her Uber account. My phone buzzed once on the nightstand, soft enough that she might have missed it if she'd actually been sleeping. I waited 5 minutes, then shifted like I was waking naturally. Reached for the phone, squinting at the screen. Uber ride canceled. $5 Uber fee, charged to account ending in 7392. Number 31. "Everything okay?" Amanda's voice, carefully concerned. "Just a notification." I set the phone down. "How was book club?" "Good. We finished the novel." She rolled toward me. "Sorry I was so late." "What book were you reading?" The question hung in the darkness between us. The one I mentioned last week. The thriller." Her hand found my shoulder. "I'm exhausted. Can we talk in the morning?" "Sure." But I was already planning tomorrow. Already thinking 3 moves ahead like I did in contract negotiations. The Uber account was just the opening gambit. A small disruption to make her nervous, make her wonder if her careful system was failing. The real work would come this weekend. Friday morning, I left for the office at my usual time. Amanda was still asleep, or pretending to be. I'd heard her phone buzz repeatedly around 3 a.m. Probably Jay, wondering why she'd left so abruptly. Wondering why she'd arrived by taxi instead of their usual Uber pool. At my desk, I opened the shared credit card account. The one Amanda had access to for household expenses and her personal spending. The one she'd been using to fund her Thursday nights. 47 Uber charges to Jay's address. I'd already disputed those and received credits. But there were other charges. Hotel rooms on the weeks she'd skipped book club. Restaurants in Brickell. A wine bar 3 blocks from Jay's apartment building. I downloaded 18 months of statements and imported them into a spreadsheet. Sorted by date, by merchant, by amount. My paralegal brain took over, organizing evidence the way I'd organized discovery documents for trial. Every Thursday dinner near Brickell Avenue. Every Thursday hotel charge. Every Thursday that didn't show an Uber pool ride. Those were the nights she'd stayed over. The pattern was mathematical. Undeniable. My office phone rang. Internal extension. Kevin, do you have a minute? Dan Wilson, the senior partner I reported to. Need to discuss the Pemberton contract. I minimized the spreadsheet. Be right there. The meeting lasted 90 minutes. Standard contract review, nothing urgent, but Dan was meticulous. Wanted every clause examined, every liability considered. The kind of detailed work that normally energized me. Today, it felt like an interruption. When I returned to my desk, I had 3 texts from Amanda. Good morning, hearts. Want to grab lunch today? I'm sorry about last night. Let me make it up to you. I studied those messages. The heart emoji. The apology that didn't specify what she was apologizing for. The offer to make it up to me when she didn't know I knew there was anything to make up. This was her pattern. The burner phone had shown it clearly. Whenever she sensed tension, whenever Jay pushed for more time or commitment, she'd swing back toward me. Send loving texts, suggest date nights. Perform the role of devoted wife. I texted back, busy day, dinner tonight instead? Her response came immediately. Perfect. I'll cook your favorite. My favorite. She probably didn't even remember what that was anymore. The last home-cooked meal she'd made was 3 months ago, and it had been salmon. I was allergic to salmon, had been since college. She'd apologized, said she'd forgotten, ordered pizza instead. Small things. Easy to overlook individually. But stacked together in a spreadsheet, they told a story. At noon, I left the office and drove to a UPS store in Kendall. Paid cash for a mailbox rental under a business name, Brennan Consulting Services. Gave them my office number as the contact. The clerk didn't ask questions. From there, I drove to a bank branch I'd never used before. Opened a checking account in my name only. Transferred $5,000 from our joint savings. Not enough to trigger Amanda's attention if she checked. She rarely did. But enough to ensure I had liquid assets she couldn't access. The bank manager, a woman named Patricia Ellis, smiled professionally as she processed the paperwork. Will your spouse need access to this account? No, this is for business purposes. Of course. You'll receive your debit card in 7 to 10 business days at the mailing address you provided. The UPS store mailbox. Everything separated, everything documented. By the time I returned to the office, it was nearly 2. I'd missed 4 calls from Amanda. No voicemails. Just missed calls, each one a small flag of anxiety. I didn't call back. At 5:30, I packed my briefcase and headed home. The drive took 40 minutes in Friday traffic. long enough to rehearse my expression, long enough to prepare for whatever performance Amanda had planned. She'd cooked lasagna, my actual favorite, the one her mother had taught her to make during our first year of marriage. The smell filled the house. Garlic, basil, tomato sauce layered with ricotta and mozzarella. "Hey," she appeared from the kitchen, wearing jeans and my old law school t-shirt. Hair pulled back. No makeup. The casual, comfortable look she knew I loved. "Dinner's almost ready." "Smells amazing." She crossed to me, rose on her toes to kiss my cheek. "I know this week has been weird. I want us to reconnect." I set down my briefcase, hung my jacket, played the role she expected. "That sounds good." Over dinner, she asked about my day, listened attentively as I described the Pemberton contract review, laughed at my story about Dan's obsessive clause-by-clause analysis, reached across the table to squeeze my hand. "I've been thinking," she said, twirling pasta on her fork. "Maybe we should plan a trip. Get away for a long weekend. Just us." "When were you thinking?" "Next month? We could go to the Keys, that place in Isla Morada we loved. The place we'd gone for our 10th anniversary. 5 years ago. Before Jay. Before book club. Before everything turned into performance and lies." "I'll check my calendar," I said. Her smile wavered slightly. She'd expected enthusiasm. Expected me to grab onto this offering of reconnection like a lifeline. Instead, I took another bite of lasagna and changed the subject. "How's Rachel doing?" Amanda blinked. "Rachel? From book club. You said you were at her place last night." "Oh, right. She's good. Stressed about work." "What does she do again?" A pause. "Marketing, for a tech startup." I nodded slowly. "Must be demanding." "Very." Amanda stood, began clearing plates. "Want dessert? I picked up that cheesecake you like." "Maybe later." I followed her into the kitchen, watched her rinse dishes and load the dishwasher. Her movements were practiced, efficient. The movements of someone who'd done this 1,000 times. But her shoulders carried tension. Her hands moved too quickly. She knew something was wrong, could sense the shift even if she couldn't identify it. My phone buzzed. I checked the screen. Uber ride canceled. 5 sur fee, charged to account ending in 7392. The prepaid card was still working. Still scheduling phantom rides. Still draining $5 at a time from her account. "Another notification?" Amanda asked, not turning from the sink. "Work email." "On a Friday night?" "Dan wants revisions on the Pemberton contract." She finally turned, dish towel in her hands. "You work too hard. Someone has to pay the bills." The words came out sharper than I'd intended. Amanda's eyes widened slightly. "Kevin, I'm gonna check those revisions. Enjoy your cheesecake." I left her standing in the kitchen and climbed the stairs to the home office. Closed the door. Opened my laptop. The spreadsheet waited. 18 months of evidence, color-coded and categorized. Every Thursday highlighted in yellow. Every suspicious charge marked in red. I added today's date in a new column. Labeled it, "Reconnaissance complete. Asset separation initiated." Then I opened a browser and searched for divorce attorneys in Miami-Dade County. Not the big firms. Not the names everyone knew. I needed someone methodical. Someone who understood financial documentation. Someone who could turn a spreadsheet into a weapon. The third result looked promising. Janet Kowalski, specializing in high-asset divorce and forensic accounting. Her website showed case results, settlements that favored her clients, division of assets that protected their interests. I bookmarked the page. Downstairs, I heard Amanda's phone ring. Heard her voice, low and urgent. Couldn't make out the words, but the tone was clear. She was talking to Jay, explaining why last night had gone wrong, promising it wouldn't happen again. Rebuilding whatever had cracked when the Uber rides kept canceling. My phone buzzed again. Uber ride canceled. $5 fee charged to account ending in 7392. Number 38. I smiled in the darkness of the office and started drafting an email to Janet Kowalski. The email to Janet Kowalski sat in my drafts folder for 3 days. Not because I was having second thoughts. I'd moved past doubt somewhere around the 43rd fraudulent Uber charge. But timing mattered, and I needed a few more pieces in place before I brought in legal counsel. Amanda had been jumpy since Thursday night. She kept checking her phone, refreshing her Uber app, muttering about glitches in the system. Friday morning, she'd called their support line twice while I made coffee, her voice climbing an octave as some representative in Manila explained that no, they couldn't tell her why rides kept canceling, but yes, the charges were valid. "It's eating up my account," she'd said, staring at her screen. $5 here, $5 there. It adds up. I'd made sympathetic noises over my eggs, suggested she delete and reinstall the app. She'd kissed my cheek, called me her problem solver, and headed to the gym. The gym. Where she'd met Jay 8 months ago. Where she probably still saw him. Their Thursday nights just the culmination of whatever they did during daylight hours. I pulled up the Uber history again Saturday morning while Amanda slept in. The data painted a clearer picture than any private investigator could have provided. I'd already filtered for pool rides, shared trips that cost less but showed every passenger's destination. Amanda had gotten sloppy with those, probably thinking I'd never noticed the slightly lower charges mixed in with her regular rides. But I noticed everything now. 47 rides to 2847 Brickell Avenue, apartment 14C. I clicked through each one, examining the details I'd initially skimmed. The pool rides showed 2 passengers on 31 of those trips. The primary rider, the one who'd requested the pool, wasn't Amanda. It was listed under a name I didn't recognize, Jason Torres. I sat back in my chair, coffee forgotten. Jason Torres had requested the pool. Amanda had joined it. And based on the timestamps, she'd been added to his ride within minutes of his request, sometimes seconds. Like they'd coordinated it, like she'd been standing right next to him when he booked it. I clicked on one of the rides from 6 weeks ago, Thursday naturally. Pickup location, Equinox Gym on Biscayne Boulevard. Drop-off, 2847 Brickell Avenue. The message thread within the app made my stomach turn. J. Torres 85. Pick me up for us in 5. She's ready. Driver response. On my way. 5 minutes later, Amanda had been added to the pool. I scrolled through more rides. The pattern held. Jason would request the pool, add a message that made it clear he was booking for 2 people, and Amanda would join. Sometimes the messages were casual. Heading home, grabbing my girl. Sometimes they were more explicit. Got my workout in, now for the real exercise. The drivers never questioned it. Why would they? Just another couple sharing a ride home. I screenshot every message, added them to my growing folder of evidence, organized by date and expense. The lawyer in me appreciated the documentation. The husband in me wanted to put my fist through the monitor. Instead, I opened a new browser window and searched for Jason Torres in Miami. LinkedIn gave me 3 possibilities. I eliminated 2 immediately. One was 63, the other lived in Coral Gables. The third made my jaw tighten. Jason Torres, 34. Personal trainer at Equinox Biscayne Boulevard. The profile photo showed a man with the kind of physique that came from making fitness your entire personality. Dark hair, white teeth, the obligatory shirtless beach photo in his background banner. His tagline read, "Transforming bodies and lives, one session at a time." I wondered if Amanda had paid him for those sessions, or if the arrangement had been more informal. I wondered if she'd used our joint credit card for that too. His profile listed his location as Miami, Florida. No specific address, but I didn't need it. I already knew where he lived. 2847 Brickell Avenue, apartment 14C. I pulled up Zillow. The building was called the Azure, one of those glass towers that had sprouted along Brickell like expensive weeds. Studio apartments started at $2,400 a month. One bedrooms went for $3,200. A personal trainer's salary could cover that maybe. But it would be tight. I wondered if Amanda had been helping with rent. I made a note to go through our credit card statements again, looking for Venmo transfers or cash withdrawals I might have missed. The apartment door opened. I closed the browser windows, keeping only my email visible. Amanda shuffled into the kitchen in her robe, hair tousled, makeup smudged. She looked younger like this, more like the woman I'd married 15 years ago, before the gym membership, before the book club, before Jason Torres and his transformative sessions. "Mornin'," she mumbled, heading straight for the coffee maker. "Mornin'. Sleep okay?" You were up early." "Couldn't sleep. Work stuff." She poured her coffee, added cream and sugar. The same routine we'd performed thousands of times. The domesticity of it felt obscene now, knowing what I knew. "I was thinking," she said, leaning against the counter. "Maybe we should go out tonight. Celebrate our anniversary properly. Thursday was nice, but we could do something special." "Like what?" "I don't know. Drive down to the Keys, maybe? Get a hotel room, make a weekend of it?" A hotel room. Like the ones she'd been charging to our card on alternate Thursdays. Like the Marriott on Biscamore, $247 a night. Or the Hilton downtown, $180 plus parking. "I've got a lot of work to catch up on," I said. "Maybe next weekend." Her face fell, just slightly. "You're always working. Making partner doesn't happen by itself." "I know. I just miss you sometimes." The audacity of it took my breath away. She missed me. While spending 8 months in Jason Torres's bed, she missed me. "I miss you too," I said, and was surprised at how normal it sounded. She smiled, crossed the kitchen, kissed my forehead. "My hard-working husband. What would I do without you?" After she retreated to the bedroom, I pulled up the Uber app on my phone. The burner account I'd created, registered to a Gmail address that couldn't be traced back to me, still had $47.50 in credits from all Amanda's canceled rides. I booked another ride on her account. Pickup. Our home address. Destination. I scrolled through the map, looking for something appropriately inconvenient. Metro Recycling and Salvage, 47 minutes away in Hialeah. I scheduled it for 2 p.m., then immediately canceled it from the burner account. $5 gone from her balance. I booked another. This time to Sunshine Scrap Metal, even farther west. Canceled it. Another $5. I did it 6 more times, varying the destinations. Junkyards, recycling centers, salvage yards. Places Amanda would never go, creating a pattern that would look increasingly bizarre to anyone reviewing her account. By the time I finished, her Uber balance was down to $12.30. My phone buzzed. A text from Amanda, sent from the bedroom. "Uber is being so weird. Keeps booking random rides. I'm calling them again. I typed back, maybe your account got hacked. Change your password. Good idea. Thanks, babe. I waited 5 minutes, then booked 3 more rides from the burner account before she could change anything. The system processed them before her password reset went through. $15 more gone. This time my phone rang. Amanda, from 20 feet away in our bedroom. Hey, I answered. Something's seriously wrong with my Uber account. Her voice had an edge now, frustration bleeding through. It keeps booking rides to these random places, junkyards, scrap metal places. I didn't request any of this. That's weird. Did you call support? I'm on hold with them now, but Kevin, it's charging me for all these cancellations. I'm down to like $7 in my account. Can't you just add another card? Silence. Then, the card on file isn't working. Because I'd reported it as fraudulent and had it replaced. The new card sat in my wallet, and I had no intention of giving Amanda the number. Use your debit card, I suggested. I don't want to link my bank account to this if it's been hacked. Her bank account, the one I didn't have access to, the one she'd opened 6 months ago claiming she wanted to manage her own money better. The one she probably used for things she didn't want me to see. Then I guess you'll have to wait until they fix whatever's wrong, I said. Maybe take a break from Uber for a few days? But how am I supposed to get around? We have 2 cars. You take yours to work. So drive mine on the weekends, or call a regular cab, or... I paused, let the suggestion hang. Ask one of your friends for a ride. Another silence. Longer this time. Yeah, she finally said. I guess I could do that. After she hung up, I opened my email and pulled up the draft to Janet Kowalski. This time I hit send. The Uber pool proof. I'd been staring at the same section of contract for 20 minutes when my phone buzzed. An email from Uber. Your refund of $847.23 has been processed and will appear in your account within 3 to 5 business days. Third refund this week. I'd disputed 32 charges so far, all marked as fraudulent. The customer service representatives had been sympathetic when I explained that someone had been using my account without authorization. They didn't need to know that someone was my wife, using the shared account I'd set up 3 years ago when we thought combining everything made us a team. My partner in everything. I pulled up the Uber app on my phone, switching to Amanda's separated account. The one she'd been forced to create after I reported the fraud. She'd mentioned it casually last Tuesday over dinner. Some confusion with the app, she'd said. Something about verification. She'd laughed it off, that practiced laugh that used to make me smile. Now I knew what every sound meant, every gesture, every carefully chosen word. I scrolled through her recent rides. 2 this week to Equinox. 1 to Whole Foods. Nothing to Brickell Avenue since I'd started the cancellations. The phantom rides had cost her $237 in cancellation fees before she'd figured out how to turn off the setting that allowed other users to book rides on her account. A setting I'd enabled using the burner phone she still thought was safely hidden under the bathroom sink. The phone I'd been photographing and returning to its exact position for 3 weeks now. My office line rang. Janet Kowalski. Kevin, I've reviewed the documentation you sent. Her voice was crisp, professional. The Uber records are particularly compelling. 47 rides to the same address over 8 months creates a clear pattern. 49 now, I said. She took 2 more this week. To the Brickell address? No, she's been cautious, taking separate cars, meeting him other places. I pulled up my tracking spreadsheet. There's a hotel in Coral Gables, the Greystone. She's been there 4 times in the past 2 weeks. Always Thursday afternoons. Charged to the joint card? No, that's the interesting part. I leaned back in my chair. No charges at all, which means either he's paying or she's got another card I don't know about. Janet was quiet for a moment. We should discuss strategy. Can you come in tomorrow? I have depositions until 6. Friday morning then, 9 o'clock. After we hung up, I sat looking at my phone. The Uber app was still open, showing Amanda's account history. I'd been monitoring it obsessively, watching her movements like tracking a stranger. Which I suppose she was. My real phone buzzed. A text from Amanda. Home by 6 tonight. Want to grill out? Beautiful weather. The domestic normalcy of it made my stomach turn. I typed back. Sounds good? 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, love you. I set the phone face down on my desk. The burner Uber account I'd created, registered to a disposable email, paid with a prepaid Visa, had been my small rebellion. Booking rides to junkyards and scrap yards, letting them accumulate cancellation fees when no one showed up. Childish, maybe. But watching those $5 charges pile up on her separated account had felt like something. Like taking back tiny pieces of control. Until she'd figured out how to stop it. Now I needed something more permanent. I pulled up our joint Uber account. The original one, still in my name, still linked to my credit card. The one I'd reported as compromised. I scrolled back through the history, past the refunded charges, to the beginning of the pattern. March 14th. First pool ride to 2847 Brickell Avenue. Amanda had requested the pickup, but the ride showed 2 passengers. The chat log was still there, preserved in the app's memory. Pick me up for us. Us. I took screenshots of everything, every ride, every chat message, every instance of us and we in the pickup instructions. Then I went further back, before March, looking for the beginning. Found it in January. A regular ride, not a pool. Just Amanda, going to Equinox. Return trip 3 hours later. Nothing unusual. Then another one. Same pattern. Gym, 3 hours, return. Then the first pool request. February 23rd. Can you pick up my friend too? Same destination. The address was Equinox. But the chat showed coordination. We're both ready. We. I documented everything, creating a new folder in my evidence directory. Labeled it Transportation Records. Added it to the master spreadsheet that had grown to 43 tabs. My office phone rang again. Internal line. David Wright, the senior partner I reported to. Kevin, got a minute? Sure. Come up to my office. I saved my work and took the elevator to the 14th floor. David's office overlooked Biscayne Bay, floor-to-ceiling windows showing cruise ships sliding past in the afternoon light. He was standing at the window when I entered, hands in his pockets. Close the door, he said. I did. I'm going to ask you something, and I need an honest answer. He turned to face me. Are you okay? The question caught me off guard. I'm fine. You've billed 93 hours in the past 2 weeks. You're here when I arrive at 7, you're here when I leave at 8. Your work is flawless, but... He paused. You look like hell, Kevin. I hadn't been sleeping. 3, maybe 4 hours a night. The rest of the time I spent in my home office, door locked, building my case, documenting, planning, preparing for the moment when I'd finally stop watching and start acting. Personal matter, I said. Nothing that affects my work. I can see that. Your work is actually better than ever, which worries me more. He gestured to the chair across from his desk. Sit. I sat. I've been doing this for 32 years, David said. I've seen lawyers go through divorces, custody battles, health crises. I've seen them channel everything into work, thinking if they just bill enough hours, the rest will sort itself out. He leaned forward. It doesn't sort itself out, Kevin. It just builds until something breaks. I'm handling it. Are you? He pulled a file from his desk drawer. You've disputed $800 in Uber charges. You've opened a separate bank account. You've contacted Janet Kowalski. He saw my expression and held up a hand. She's a friend. She mentioned you might need some flexibility with your schedule in the coming weeks. I'm not prying into the details. I'm just saying, I recognize the pattern. I didn't know what to say. Take Friday off, David said. Take the whole week if you need it. Your hours are solid. Your cases are current. Use the time to handle whatever you're handling. I have depositions Friday. Mitchell can cover them. He closed the file. That's not a request, Kevin. That's me telling you to take care of yourself before you implode in my conference room. I stood. Thank you. And Kevin? He looked at me over his reading glasses. Whatever you're planning, and I can see you're planning something, make sure it's worth what it's going to cost you. I rode the elevator back down to my floor, David's words echoing in my head. Worth what it's going to cost. The cost was already paid. 8 months of Thursdays. 8 months of lies. 15 years of marriage turned into evidence files and spreadsheets. Back at my desk, I pulled up the Uber app one more time. Amanda's account showed a new ride request. Pick up at our house. Destination Equinox. Scheduled for tomorrow at 2 p.m., Thursday. I opened my laptop and logged into the Uber developer portal using credentials I'd created last week. It had taken some research, some careful reading of their API documentation, but I'd figured out how to access the backend of Amanda's account. Not to book rides this time, something simpler. I changed her default payment method from her debit card to the old joint credit card. The one I'd canceled. The one that would decline any charge. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. when her ride showed up, the payment would fail. The driver would cancel. She'd be stranded, scrambling to fix the payment issue, trying to figure out what went wrong. And she'd miss her Thursday appointment. Small revenge. Petty, even. But watching the pieces fall into place on my screen felt like taking back something that had been stolen. My phone buzzed. Amanda again. Picking up steaks. Ribeye okay? I looked at the message for a long moment, then typed, perfect. The Uber pool proof. The ride notification pinged at 6:47 p.m. Thursday. I watched from my laptop as Amanda's account requested a driver. Destination, 2847 Brickell Avenue. The same address she'd visited 47 times in 8 months. Except this time, her payment method was the credit card I'd canceled 3 days ago. I refreshed the screen. The ride requests cycled through drivers, each one accepting, then immediately canceling when the payment failed to authorize. Amanda would be standing outside our house, watching cars approach then drive past, her phone showing error messages she'd have to dismiss over and over. My own phone buzzed, Amanda calling. Hey, I said, keeping my voice light. What's up? My Uber keeps canceling. Frustration tightened her words. Can you check if there's something wrong with the card? Which card? The Visa. It's saying payment declined. I pulled up my banking app, letting the silence stretch. Huh. Shows a zero balance. Did you use it for something? No, She stopped. Can you just add your card to my account? I'm going to be late. Late for what? Another pause. Book club. I told you this morning. Right. Book club. I clicked through my Uber history, scrolling past her rides. You know what's weird? I was reviewing our Uber charges because we got hit with that huge bill last month. Remember? Almost $900? Kevin, I really need to. There's this pattern. Every Thursday, Uber pool rides to the same address in Brickell. 2847 Brickell Avenue, apartment 14C. I kept my tone conversational, curious. That's where you're headed now, isn't it? The line went silent except for her breathing. And the chat logs are interesting. Pick me up for us. Running late. Tell him 5 mins. Same spot as last week. I stood, walking to the living room window. She was still on the front walkway, phone pressed to her ear, her body rigid. Want to explain what us means, Amanda? Because I'm pretty sure book club doesn't require coordinating pickups with Jason Torres. She ended the call. I watched her through the window as she stared at her phone, then at the street, then back at her phone. Her fingers moved frantically across the screen. Probably texting Jason, probably panicking. My laptop showed another ride request from her account. Same destination. Same declined payment. She tried calling again. I let it ring through to voicemail. 2 minutes later, a black BMW pulled up. Not an Uber. Jason's car. I'd confirmed the plates through the building's visitor log that I'd sweet-talked out of the parking attendant for $40. Amanda practically ran to it, glancing back at the house once before sliding into the passenger seat. I took 3 photos through the window. Clear shots of her getting into his car, the license plate visible, timestamp showing 7:02 p.m. on a Thursday she'd claimed was book club. They drove off toward Brickell. My phone buzzed with a text from Amanda. We need to talk when I get home, I replied. About the $847 in fraudulent Uber charges. Already disputed them. Money's back in my account. Or did you mean the other charges? The Marriott on Biscayne? The restaurants? Because I disputed those too. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, you're being crazy. I opened my laptop and started the process I'd planned for 3 days. First, I logged into the Uber Developer API using credentials I'd obtained through a paralegal friend who owed me a favor. The burner account I'd created, registered to a prepaid Visa with $5 on it, had Amanda's phone number linked as an alternate contact. I scheduled 17 rides from various locations across Miami to different junkyards and auto salvage lots. Each ride would request a driver, wait until one was en route, then cancel at the last possible second. Cancellation fees would pile up. $5 per cancel, 17 cancels, $85 in fees that would attempt to charge the prepaid card, fail, then get flagged for collection against the phone number. But that was just the appetizer. I pulled up the joint credit card statement and began disputing charges methodically. Every restaurant where she'd checked in on the burner phone's location history. Every hotel charge that coincided with Book Club Thursdays. Every Uber ride to Jason's address. The credit card company's fraud department had a simple interface. Check the box, confirm the charge was unauthorized, submit. I'd done this for clients before, helping them recover funds from identity theft. The irony wasn't lost on me. Unauthorized charge. 127, Zuma, Miami, March 14th. Unauthorized charge. 89, Uber Technologies, March 14th. Unauthorized charge. 235, Marriott Biscayne Bay, March 24. Click, click, click. Each dispute would trigger an investigation. Each investigation would require Amanda to provide proof the charges were legitimate. Each proof would be evidence in divorce court. My phone rang. Jason's number. I'd added it to my contacts after finding it in Amanda's burner messages. I answered. Kevin Brennan. This is Jason Torres. I think we should talk. About what? My wife? The one you've been sleeping with for 8 months? He exhaled slowly. She said you found out. Found out? I laughed, surprising myself with how genuine it sounded. I found her burner phone. I found 47 Uber rides to your apartment. I found hotel receipts and restaurant charges and 8 months of Thursdays that were supposed to be book club. So yeah, Jason, I found out. Look, man, I didn't what? Didn't know she was married because her LinkedIn profile lists me. Her Facebook is full of wedding photos. Her Instagram has our anniversary posts. I pulled up his profile on my screen. Or did you just not care? Silence. Here's what's going to happen, I continued, my voice dropping into the tone I used for hostile witnesses. Every dollar Amanda spent on you, and I have receipts for all of it, is going to come back to me. Every Uber ride, every hotel room, every dinner. I've already disputed the charges. The credit card company will investigate. Amanda will have to admit the charges were hers, and that admission becomes evidence in divorce proceedings. That's fraud? No, Jason. Fraud is what she committed when she used our joint accounts to fund an affair. I'm just correcting the error. I clicked through to the Uber scheduling interface. And those 17 rides I just booked from her account to various junkyards around Miami? Those are going to rack up cancellation fees. Fees that will go to collections when her prepaid card declines. Collections that will hurt her credit score. Credit she'll need when she's trying to rent an apartment after I take the house in the divorce. You can't. I absolutely can. And I have a lawyer who specializes in this exact situation. Janet Kowalski. Maybe you've heard of her? She handled the Westbrook divorce last year. Wife got caught cheating, husband got the house, the cars, and 70% of liquid assets. I paused. Amanda's going to need a good income to recover from this. How much do personal trainers make? 40,000? 50? He hung up. I smiled at my laptop screen and scheduled 8 more junkyard rides. At 10:15 p.m., Amanda's key turned in the lock. I was sitting on the couch, laptop open, TV on but muted. I'd spent the last 3 hours documenting everything. Screenshots of the disputed charges, confirmations from the credit card company, records of the scheduled rides, photos of her getting into Jason's car. She walked in looking like she'd been crying. Makeup smudged, eyes red, that black dress wrinkled. Kevin. I pressed a button on my phone. The TV screen changed from muted news to a mirrored display of my laptop. The Uber ride history filled the 65-inch screen. 47 rides to 2847 Brickell Avenue, each one highlighted in yellow, each one showing Uber Pool as the ride type, each one showing chat messages. Pick me up for us. Running late, tell 'em 5 mins. Same spot as last week. Amanda froze, staring at the screen. I clicked to the next image. Hotel charges, restaurant receipts. A spreadsheet I'd created showing dates, times, amounts, and locations cross-referenced with her burner phone's GPS history. Sit down, I said quietly. She didn't move. I said sit down, Amanda. She sank into the chair across from me, eyes locked on the TV. I'm going to ask you questions, I continued, and you're going to answer them. Every lie, every deflection, every "it's not what you think," I'm going to know. Because I have 8 months of evidence on this screen, so let's start simple. I clicked to a ride from March 14th. This Uber Pool to Jason's apartment. What happened when you got there? Amanda moved out 3 weeks later. Not to Jason's apartment. That ended the night I confronted her, when he apparently decided a married woman with an angry husband and a forensic accountant for a lawyer wasn't worth the trouble. She took a studio in Kendall, paid for with money she borrowed from her mother. The divorce took 7 months. Janet Kowalski was worth every dollar I paid her. The Uber records, the credit card statements, the burner phone I'd been photographing for weeks, all of it became exhibits A through Z. Amanda's lawyer tried to argue that marital funds were marital funds regardless of how they were spent. But Florida's equitable distribution laws gave judges discretion when one spouse committed adultery using the other's money. I kept the house, kept my retirement accounts, kept 70% of our liquid assets. Amanda got her car, her personal belongings, and a settlement that wouldn't keep her comfortable for long. The night the divorce was finalized, I sat in my home office, the same room where I'd spent months building my case, and looked at the folders on my laptop. Evidence, documentation, proof. Hundreds of hours of work that had led to this moment. I deleted all of it. Not out of forgiveness. I wasn't there yet. Might never be. But because holding on to it felt like letting her keep a piece of me. The marriage was over. The evidence had served its purpose. What remained was just data, and data couldn't hurt me anymore. 2 years later, I made partner at the firm. David Wright shook my hand in his office overlooking Biscayne Bay and told me I'd earned it. Maybe I had. The 90-hour weeks hadn't stopped after the divorce. If anything, I'd worked harder, channeling everything into cases and clients and building something that was mine alone. I dated occasionally. Nothing serious. A few dinners, a few second dates, one relationship that lasted 3 months before we both admitted we were going through the motions. I wasn't ready, and I was honest about that. Honesty felt important now in a way it hadn't before. I still used Uber, though I'd switched to a new account with a different email. Small superstition, maybe. The old account sat dormant, a digital ghost of a life I'd left behind. One Saturday morning, I ran into Amanda at Whole Foods. She was in the produce section, looking thinner than I remembered, tired around the eyes. We made eye contact across the organic lettuce. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then she nodded. Just a small acknowledgement. I nodded back. We didn't speak. Didn't need to. Whatever we'd been to each other, partners, spouses, adversaries, had been resolved in depositions and settlement agreements. What remained was just two people who'd once shared a life, now living separate ones. I finished my shopping and drove home to the house that was finally, legally, completely mine. The bathroom sink had been fixed for over a year. No leaks, no hidden phones, just a cabinet with cleaning supplies and extra toothpaste. The lesson, if there was one, came to me late one night while reviewing a client's prenuptial agreement. Marriage is a contract. I'd always known that intellectually, but I'd treated mine like a sacred promise, something that transcended the legal framework. I'd been wrong about that. Trust isn't faith. Trust is verification. Not the paranoid kind where you're constantly checking and testing, but the honest kind where both parties know they're accountable. Where shared accounts mean shared transparency. Where book club actually means book club, and Thursday nights don't require burner phones hidden under bathroom sinks. I'd learned to watch for patterns. In contracts, in cases, in relationships. Patterns told the truth when words lied. And when the patterns changed, when something felt off, I'd learned to investigate rather than ignore. Some people might call that cynical. I called it practical. The watch Amanda gave me on our 15th anniversary still sits in my dresser drawer. I've never worn it. Can't bring myself to throw it away either. Sometimes I take it out and read the engraving. To Kevin, my partner in everything. The irony doesn't hurt anymore. It just reminds me that words are cheap, intentions are cheaper, and the only thing that matters is what people actually do when they think no one's watching. I was watching. I documented everything. And when the moment came, I had the evidence to protect myself. That's not revenge. That's just being prepared. And if I've learned anything from 15 years of marriage and 7 months of divorce, it's this. Hope for the best, but always, always keep the receipts.